Welcome back. As we reach the end of week 15, can you believe it, of the global pandemic, life across the country is slowly returning to almost a new normal. In most provinces, stores are reopening, people can get haircuts, and you can have a meal on a restaurant patio. Here in Ottawa, our CBC Polls analyst, Éric Grenier, has relaunched the CBC's poll tracker. He joins us from Ottawa with more on how the pandemic and political parties' response to it have affected their support. Hi, Éric.
Hello.
Great to see you. We're so excited to have the poll tracker back. Let's get right into it. What do things look like nationally?
Well, we're seeing a big lead for the Liberals, and it's really come about as a result of the pandemic. The latest numbers in the national polling averages have the Liberals at about 40%. So that's a jump of about 7 points since the last election. And almost all of that has come from the Conservatives. They're right now down 6 points to about 28%. That's a big gap. That's a 12-point gap right now between the Liberals and the Conservatives. That's wider than in 2015 when the Liberals first won a majority government. The other parties haven't really had much movement since October. The NDP is still at about 16%, exactly where they were on election night. The Bloc is down a little bit to 7%, and the Greens at 6%. But overall, the big shift has been between the Liberals and the Conservatives. So right now, the Liberals would be in a good position if there was an election held today.
Yeah, let's talk about that. There's not going to be one today, but if there were, what would those numbers mean?
Yeah, they would give the Liberals a pretty big majority government. Right now, we'd estimate that they'd be able to win somewhere around 186 seats. They could win a few more, a few less with these kinds of numbers. But that's well above the 170 they need for a majority government. The Conservatives, they would drop about 20 seats. They'd be just a little over about 101, more or less where they were back in 2015. And both the Bloc Québécois and the New Democrats would take a little bit of a step back, 5 seats down for the Bloc, 2 for the New Democrats. The Greens maybe would lose 1. But really, again, the big shift is between Liberals and the Conservatives. Of course, like you said, there's not going to be an election today, but it just shows that the kind of numbers that we're seeing in the polls would deliver something that the Liberals were not able to get just a few months ago.
A few months ago, or I guess a few more than a few months ago, in the last election, regions were such a big part of the story. What is the regional breakdown looking like right now?
Well, I think you can still see that there's a really big difference between different parts of the country, because right now the Liberals do have a lead in British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada, and they're big leads. They're double-digit leads over the Conservatives, but the Conservatives have big leads in Alberta and the Prairies, just as they did in the last election. We're seeing that the Liberal lead is getting wider in a lot of important battlegrounds, Ontario and Quebec. The Conservatives still have their heartland in Western Canada, and that's why they're still able to win a lot of seats. But the big shift, particularly in BC and Ontario, right now that would put the Liberals in a position to win a majority government if there was an election, but there won't be for some time, probably for a while.
All right, great info, Éric. As always, wonderful to see you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.